welcome back to Redirecting. I have a very interesting article I'm going to be reading for you, and this is more talk about Africa. I've been talking a lot about Africa lately because this year of return has a lot of people hyped, okay? Just something else for you to think about. Now, apparently a German minister suggests that voluntary colonialism for Africa is the solution to some of their issues. Now, I'm going to read this article, and of course, you know, I'm going to come back with my 2 cents on what's being said here. Now, it says the African Union has rejected a proposal by a German minister suggesting foreign powers acquire land in Africa to stop migration. So they want voluntary colonialism in Africa. It goes on to say that's the solution a German minister has offered to end migration from Africa to Europe. Now, the proposal calls for foreign powers to acquire land in Africa, but the AU says it's a lazy answer to concerns about migration and implies that Africa needs to give up sovereignty. The suggestion has also sparked a lot of criticism. Okay, now here's my take on that. These people believe that they can even suggest such a thing is because they are not seeing power or any type of leadership coming out of Africa. They see what many of us see, those of us who don't live on the continent. What we are seeing is that there is a lot of migration out of Africa. And on the same token, you have the AU telling us to come to Africa. You have Africans trying to get out of Africa. And so many of us are getting confusing, conflicting messages coming out of Africa. And we don't feel like there's, you know, the whole truth is being said about things. But as we see these things coming more and more to the forefront, is amazing. A lot of us are getting our eyes open. Many still want to go to Africa to live. Some of us simply want to visit, okay, just to see how things are and just to, you know, get a chance to meet some of our people. That's where I am right now. My family had a strong desire to move there years ago, but that desire has diminished somewhat because this is our take on things. Until the leaders of Africa can get themselves together and break away from foreign rulership and foreign people controlling this and saying that and having their way on the continent, why would we leave America to go there to be ruled by another group of foreigners, right? It makes no sense. And I certainly wouldn't want to go there and to be ruled by black leaders who are merely puppets to foreigners, who will kill their own people just to please these foreign leaders and these foreign nations. What is the point in that? Okay, so much is going on the continent right now, and I feel like the leaders of Africa need to get their house in order because the people on the ground, the people who I care about, they are suffering to the point where, and not all of them, I'm not talking about all of them because we do realize that in some African countries they may have it a lot better than in others, but for the people on the ground, they are trying to get out of Africa for a reason, okay? And what Europeans are saying, okay, here's the solution. If you can allow us to acquire land, what we'll do is we'll build up the infrastructure. This is probably their thinking. If they can just get back and get some more land, build up the infrastructure, make things better as far as looks go, but they still, look at all the areas that they did build up. Who had the jobs? They were still employing their own people and keeping black people away from the resources, away from the wealth, away from the jobs, you see. And so they're just basically saying, give us another bid at treating you like trash. That's all this is about. Give us another shot at treating you like trash. And they're hoping that some would take the bait. Now, on this one thing, I can agree with the AU that is not a good idea. That is not a good solution. But this is what happens, and I'm saying this to the AU. When you get in bed with these people and you're making deals with them and you have them sitting at the table, yet you're asking African Americans to pay $1 billion to get a seat at the table, but these people are able to get, some of these foreign nations are able to get a seat, and they actually set up the African Union. And they have a strong voice. Many foreign nations have a strong presence throughout the continent. As a matter of fact, a lot of people are saying that that Africa belongs to China. I know I've said a lot, but for my people in the diaspora, even to the brother who contacted me from the UK, you think that I am against Africa. Brother, if you really listen to what I talk about, I am not against Africa or its people. It's always been about the wicked leadership and the wicked rulers in which many of the people of Africa speak out against on their own. So they don't need me to do it. They do it themselves. And so what we are experiencing, many of us, whether you're in the UK or here in the US or anywhere in the diaspora, we have this thirst and this hunger to be around our own people. And so we are allowing ourselves to be blinded with the corruption that Africans themselves are speaking out against and trying to flee. Why do you think that there's this huge migration out of Africa? I saw a video where this guy came from Kenya. He bought land down in Texas. He bought a lot of land down in Texas, and he talked about his reason for doing that. He says in Africa, in various countries in Africa, there's this problem that they have with deed duplication, to where multiple people will own the same property. And so you get these conflicts over land because things are not being handled properly. And like he stated here, those conflicts don't happen here. Even in cases where you have some type of illegal dealings with property and land here, there's a way that it's dealt with. Because I remember in the city of Detroit where people were selling land that belonged to dead people. They knew a person was dead and the house had been sitting for years, and so they would sign the property over to themselves and then sell it to someone else. But even with that, you're not dealing with two people owning a deed and both having paid for the property. You see, it's a difference. It's corruption, but it's not two people being sold the same property and having to conflict over who's the true owner. Big difference. And that is the one thing that this Kenyan investor said. He says, I'm here in America because of the investment opportunities. Now, those of us who live here, especially those of us who have invested in real estate, Watchman and I, for a long time, we were real estate investors. And so we know and understand that there can be opportunity in here if you know what to do and what to look for. There can be opportunities here in America, and that is why you have people from all over the world trying to get here. At the same time, we know how to separate the fact that this is a wicked nation. Just because we have been able to benefit from the opportunities here, that's not going to blind us to the type of people we're dealing with. This is still a wicked nation, okay? At the end of the day, they are going to have to answer to the Most High Yah for all of the deeds that they have done in and around this world. And so, yeah, again, there's this grab at African land from everybody, right? Not just the Chinese and the people of India or the Arabs, but you still have the white colonialists who are trying to get their grab back at the land too, okay? They still own a great deal of it. If you look in certain regions, they still own a huge percentage. But what they're saying now is, look, let's end migration. Let's end migration by giving us more land. We'll just buy more. And that'll solve your problems of migration. Whatever. Okay, family, with that, I'll say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.